Thank you, Andre. And with this very good introduction, allow me to have a little bit of a deep dive on more or less what you highlighted. So I want to spend a few words about where we stand today, what will happen in the coming months, and what the market participants can expect after the initial launch. Uh, if we can move on, perhaps on the presentation on the next slide. What is important is to highlight that the solution is already developed and is in the process of being fine-tuned. Some of you are aware that there was a solution to some extent reused and built upon what you saw in 2024 in the trials and experiments. And of course, we are fine-tuning and I will say a few more words on that in a minute on the actual model, but we are fine-tuning I would say, the functionalities in view of testing. What is important is that we have intensified the engagement with the market since October 2025. And this is reflected in the Pontes market contact group. Some of you are aware, involving 50 participants from the market and also using a full transparency model, I would say, where whatever we discuss in this group is also immediately available on the website of the ECB. As Andre just mentioned, we are in the process of fine-tuning and finalizing the testing. A lot of internal Eurosystem testing has taken place in the previous weeks, and Vitus will tell us in a moment the detailed planning of the user testing, where the national communities of the national central banks will need to deep dive into some of the use cases. And indeed, we are focusing on the go-live preparation for the 21st of September. Why this milestone is very important, and I hope that the presentation is also moving a bit more. It's important, I would say, for three key reasons. The first one being that we have a new capability provided by the Eurosystem in central bank money, which allows the market to innovate on use cases, and some would even use the word experiment. But what is important, it happens in real production environment. Safety comes from the use of the risk-free settlement asset, the central bank money asset. And this is something that it was a very strong message with the market in the past 10 months, I would say. The final important element and consideration about this milestone is that this is rooted in strong, clear European governance. I don't need to go into the very well-known geopolitical context in which financial markets are operating these days, but it's a clear EU public authority decision, but also clear market request that this is deeply rooted on European, let's say, governance and decision making. A very quick recap on what exactly the model looks like, and I see that the slides are still a bit stuck. May need to move to slide 14, by the way. What we are planning to, can even go to the next slide. What we can plan exactly. Thank you very much. To develop and deliver as a very quick, I would say, overview is starting from the right-hand side. We're talking about eligible DLT platforms and operators of these platforms and market participants, which will be certified, authorized by the national central banks to connect to the Pontes initial nodes. What the Eurosystem will offer is the interface based on the latest API application programming interfaces to allow the settlement of tokenized assets outside the target services to be settled, to have the payment cash leg, either on the Eurosystem DLT, on the tokenized form of the central bank money, or directly in Target 2, in T2. This is a known dual settlement model, which will continue to exist. It took place during the trials and experiments in 2024, and it will continue to exist at least for 2 years after the go live. What is important here is to highlight that basically there will be no changes, I would say, to the interface, the knowledge, the experience, I would say your treasurers have on the core T2 liquidity management. But what is important is that the Eurosystem will provide the interface for funding and defunding the Eurosystem tokenized cash wallets, what you see here in the middle layer. Moving a bit further to the timeline, a visualization of the timeline in the next slide, and Andre touched upon that. The important message here is that there is a single roadmap and work program focusing on the long term, starting with the APIA roadmap and launch paper publication in March, targeting the blueprint that in close collaboration with the market we want to establish at least by 2021. And this will look into the long-term developments and solutions that the Eurosystem may consider. Today, of course, especially on the first part of the session, we're focusing on the lower part, on the Pontes, and on the iterations thereof in 2027 and 2028. It's very important to clarify once more that by mid-2027, we are going to enhance what has been a very strong market request in the last 12 months and a very strong focus point, I would say, on automatizing and make immediately available the settlement finality on the tokenized cash wallets in the Eurosystem DLT functionality. There will be finality in central bank money also from September, but with some workarounds and with some additional steps, either at the end of the day, defunding back to T2 or during the day with manual procedures. We know this is not ideal, and this is why more or less, I would say 8 to 10 months after the go live, we want to enhance it and bring immediate settlement finality on the Eurosystem DLT module in full alignment to the rest of the target services. The next important development for 2027 is to align further the Pontes offering to the operating hours of the T2, the RTGS, let's say the core payment system for wholesale transactions in the Eurosystem. At the moment, this is 22.5 hours for the 5 business days. But as you can see on this slide, by 2028, we want to start working towards a more 24/7 solution, which is what is to be expected in this I would say, new tokenized framework and environment. One clarification here, which very often we have faced with the market when we're discussing this element, the 24/7 availability is not simple a technical solution, a technical challenge. Equally important, it's a channel for monetary policy, for the treasury departments of your institutions, for alignment with the rest of the target services. I'm referring to collateral availability, retail payments, wholesale payments, remuneration on the balance sheet of the NCB. So my point here is that we are working towards the 24/7 holy grail, if I can use the expression, but we'll have to do it in a structure, a way that takes into account all side effects and potential impacts on the European financial market infrastructure and on the liquidity management. The additional enhancements, which are very important for 2028, cover the multi-currency possibility, availability. As you know, target services are by design developed as multi-currency. And as we speak today, already the Danish krona and the Swedish krona are part of the TIPS and T2 to some extent. But more currencies are joining the target services. The final element of intensive work for the further enhancement 2028 looks into how liquidity is managed, the availability to have overnight liquidity and use the, let's say, aligned to the usual functionalities of the target services and T2, but also probably very important for the systemic acceptability, I would say, and further support of tokenization in the financial market is the immediate, let's say, involvement and participation of the balances on the tokenized cash wallet in the reserve requirements of the counterparties to monetary policy. I think this is a very important element and would bring at this time the DLT pilot solution into alignment with the rest of the target services. If we move to the next slide, an important focus area that we both discussed with the market the last 12 months, but also we have reflected in the system documentation you can see on the website. There's even a reference on this slide, refers to the exact use cases that the Pontes initial launch will cover. At very high level, we can speak about the typical DVP or delivery versus payment use cases, where basically the delivery of a tokenized asset outside the target services can only take place if and only if the payments, the cash leg, is taking place on the central bank money side of Pontes. What is the same, the equivalent, let's say, model is followed for the payment versus payment, the PVP. And what is important to clarify here is that the Pontes solution will orchestrate and will facilitate the delivery versus payment and the payment versus payment. I will not go into details of cryptographic keys to be exchanged. I think this is not for the, let's say, today's presentation, but there is a very elaborate technical orchestration that the interface is between, again, the external tokenized DLT platforms and Pontes Cashlek will organize. Also, so-called single payments or wholesale payments without orchestration between the two legs will also be available as of 21st of September. If we want to speak more on business terms, all the typical primary market operations of a debt issuer or financial instrument issuer can be managed in a typical issuance versus receiving of the fund, delivery versus payment in real time, moving away from the typical T+5, T+2 or 3 today, but also normal trading activities, secondary market transactions can also be covered. It goes the same for corporate action events or any other, again, transaction in tokenized assets outside the Eurosystem Pontes infrastructure. It covers also, and I know there is a strong interest from the market on that, on tokenized deposits and the possibility of, let's say, one or two institutions to exchange tokenized deposits vis-a-vis versus a cash payment in central bank money. The complete list, which is actually quite technical, is also publicly available on the website of the ECB, and I'm sure Eileen will highlight that a bit later. Moving to the next slide, one, of course, can answer what is the benefit? Why shall we be involved? Why we should be engaged, and what we're going to get as market, let's say, innovators out of that. We are fully aware that the service in September is only the first iteration. There will be enhancements. It will not be the end product, but we still believe that there's a lot of value for market participants to engage, to settle, to innovate, and to learn from the Pontes initial launch. You can start settling your transactions in the safety of central bank money. You can develop in parallel and innovate further your business cases and your models. But I think the third element is perhaps even more important. You can have lessons learned from the real production environment and not, let's say, moving beyond the trials and experiments. And that would be invaluable experience and feedback, both for your institutions internally, but also very important for the Eurosystem and the national central banks in moving to the next iterations. Connected to that brings me to the next slide, which is focusing on the future market engagement. You know very well in the previous months, we engaged very intensively with some of your institutions in the Pontes market contact group, but also in the new technology for wholesale transactions settlement working group. Both of these contact groups will be replaced as of September by the new APIA contact group, named APIA, indicating the single program. The purpose is to collaborate very closely, both on the Pontes production and evolution, and hear your views about how to, for example, do the change release management or the planning, but also on the API activities. It would be very important to hear your views, feedback, and advice. There is a strong market interest. There was a call of interest 1.5 months ago. We're still looking into the composition. We try to balance between national markets, roles in the market, and let's say involvement within what I just described, the Pontes and APIA. And very soon, I think in the coming days, you're going to hear from us formally on the website of the ECB the exact composition of the group. The first meeting is scheduled for September before the go live, and that will replace the existing, as I said, Pontes and new technology for wholesale settlement groups. To conclude, moving to the next slide, again, it's important perhaps to leave you with two messages. What will go live in production by the end of September is not the end game, but is the start of the journey. We spoke about the enhancements, the iterations in 27, 28, and particularly what the APIA blueprint will advise us to do from there onwards. The second important message is that engagement with the Eurosystem, and by the way, also other EU public authorities that will be part of the group, will be extremely important for us to shape the evolution of Pontes and also the definition of the APIA roadmap. With these words, Eileen, probably I will pause here and happy to take any questions if needed. I'm under your control, Eileen.
Thank you, George. That was a lot of information to start off with at before 10 o'clock in the morning. So I think everyone is waking up here. Thanks so much, George. That was super interesting. We just want to reshare the QR code for the questions. So again, scan the QR code, and this is the way you submit your questions. You can also send an email to us on mip.events@ecb.europa.eu. So these are the two ways to engage with us. take a photo of this so you have it. Also, when you don't remember the email address, I need to remind myself it's not an easy one. And again, scan the QR code. So, George, I'm going to let you rest for 2 seconds, and we see, if people have digested all the information you just shared. I want to reiterate maybe that all the material that we're using today can be found on the ECB website after the event. This is both the recording of the live stream, but it's also all the individual presentations. So you will be able to see all the individual presentations afterwards, and this is how to get there. All right, so when you're on the ECB website, you click on Payments Financial Stability tab up at the top. Then you will have quick links. Quick links are important because there's good stuff there. You have payments, news, and events. You click on this, and you get to this fantastic page, which of course should be on your favorites place to go. We have news here, and then we have events. If you click on events highlighted in yellow, you will get to this page. And here we show all the events that we host, all these focus sessions and any other events we may have. This is the place to go. If you click on this, this is where you're watching the live stream right now. So this is what you see, but below here, we will also upload all the individual presentations and the recording afterwards. So it's a lot of takeaways for one morning. So it's good to know that this is there to go back also in case you are halfway on holiday and want to rewatch or see everything again when you come back. That's the place to go. Also, if you forget to save this as your favorite ECB page, you can also follow the LinkedIn group, as mentioned. This is a new group. We have just launched it last week. So I would strongly encourage, sorry, not a group. See, I'm still using the old language. This is the new page, so it's even better. You follow the page. And on this page, you will really be able to get all the details about what happens currently for market infrastructure and payments at the ECB. So this is a great LinkedIn page to follow. So again, scan the QR code. I know it's a lot of QR codes here, but this is the easiest way for everyone to stay connected. So follow that one. I would encourage you to do. And then I just want to quickly check. There's also the other opportunity. You know, I always try to move you to the social media, right? You know this. But you can also still, which I know is something that many of you enjoy, is the newsletter. So you can join the newsletter just by signing up also on our website. You can do it here easily while you're joining this session by scanning the QR code, another QR code, scan the QR code, sign up, and then you will receive these every time we send out news. So great ways to stay up to date on what goes on of anything that we do related to Pontes, Appia, or the target services in general. So again, for today, you ask your questions this way. You scan the QR code or you send us an email. So do you double checking here how it's going? You guys are waking up. This is very good. But we can also yes, so we have a few questions coming in. So maybe we bring George back with us, and then we take questions here. Yes, you are there with me. Good, George. So I'm not answering by myself. I like to have you with me. So there's questions here. Are corporate payment allowed to be routed through Pontes? So maybe this is something you can enlighten us on, George, please.
Yes. No, thank you, Eileen. My answer would be simple on that. It's not very different to today's world in target services. So you can have the life cycle of a asset and financial instrument. In this case, it's tokenized. You can program also if you want a corporate action. What will happen in Pontes is the cash settlement. So the answer is very simple, and yes, it will be, I would say, simple payments in Pontes. Can I take, Eileen, also Another question on there is a question coming up from the market whether it's possible to settle primary TLT bond issuance in Pontes and what are the prerequisites for the issuer. I mean, I will not cover the full primary market ecosystem. It's a very complex one. It uses issuer agent, dealer banks, and a lot of activities. We are not covering that. We are not so ambitious. What we'll cover, again, it's the cash leg of the delivery versus payment of the issuance. There is a process in the issuance where basically the issuer or the issuer agent deliver the securities, and the dealer bank, the consortium, let's say the investor, let's keep it simple, will have to pay the cash. And this cash will, and the exchange of the delivery versus cash is something that will orchestrate as DVP in Pontes. That's the element of the private market we will cover. And the added value is that this can be settled real time, anytime. But of course, what is implied in the question is that a lot of orchestration activities has to take place on the DLT, market DLT platform itself to orchestrate the steps around issuance. It will not happen in Pontes. Eileen.
Thank you, George. This was great.
Can I try another one? I see another one.
You can try another one.
Thank you for that. There is a very interesting question coming from the CCPs, I assume. And the question is whether the ECB or the Eurosystem will allow the power of attorney for CCPs without limits to instruct. I think this is the typical CCP business model where, at least for some of the participants, there is agreement and power of attorney instruction takes place in T2S today, for example. The answer to that is that as of the go live in September, there will be a functionality, which it's called, I think, in the system documentation, instruct on behalf. It's managed by the onboarding National Central Bank. So please, and that's one of the key messages of the day, Eileen, I think, please be in touch with your National Central Bank to clarify, let's say, the access rights and the limits potentially applicable. But indeed, when we look at the enhancements and the evolution for the Pontes so-called enhanced product in 2028, we're going towards full integration with the target services. And I don't want to describe now the change request and the user requirements in 28, but the idea is to move really closer to what happens today in T2S. Again, that would be something to be engaged in the APIA market contact group. And I would really invite interested parties to speak to your National Central Bank on that.